Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Real Hawk Talk. I am Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at HawkBlogger. And as a matter of fact, somebody's going to get to be the lucky 1,000th follower of the HawkBlogger Instagram account. We're at like 980 something. So we're right around the corner from 1,000. There's absolutely no prize other than you get to tell me you're the 1,000th person, and I'll say thank you. But it's fun. It's fun seeing round numbers. I don't know, when you guys see your odometer on your car hit like a round number, you get a little pleasure out of that. You get a little pleasure out of that. No,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even look at my odometer.
I'm surprised you have a car, to be honest.
You're surprised I have a car?
Yeah, your generation doesn't even have a driver's license half the time.
Brother, the state of Arizona has zero public transport. Okay? And it's 2,000 degrees. So
yeah. Yes. Fair. But you're always talking about taking these Waymos everywhere. So
they're amazing. They are so good. Have you hopped in one before?
I have not.
I think they're expanding to Seattle. I think in the next I thought I saw it on their expansion plans. It's I know they're in Austin, Phoenix, LA, and I think parts of San Diego right now. They're amazing. If you've never tried one, definitely try it next time you're in one of those cities.
I'm pretty sure every single sci-fi movie where AI or whoever takes over, it starts with cars that you lose control of.
Yeah,
that's a fundamental part of the strategy. So yeah, Waymo is one step in maybe the wrong direction. I don't know.
They're affordable, man. They really are.
Yeah, well, they're affordable for you. I don't know how how affordable they are for the Uber drivers that are losing their jobs, but that's a whole nother conversation. So that was Evan Hill at Evan Hill HB, and let me bring in Nathan Ernst at Nathan E11. Nathan, how about you? Are you do you pay attention to your odometer at all? Does that give you any satisfaction?
My car is at the point where the odometer hitting the next big round number isn't a super satisfying feeling. So no, I don't get pleasure from that anymore. But when you're in the 40,000 or the 50,000 mile range, yeah, that's kind of fun to watch.
All right, thank you. At least you're not leaving me out there. But I'm all right being out on my own. It's just something that I not a lot, but a little bit of pleasure of seeing a nice round number. Let me celebrate. We got a couple of new things to celebrate here. We got Alex Simmons, a new member of the channel. Love seeing this, Alex. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the crew. And Hawks Zero gifted 5 Hawk Blogger membership. This is amazing. Thank you for starting off the show with such generosity and expanding the community. It's great to see. We can go a lot of places today, guys. I mean, we could talk about the game last weekend. I gotta admit, I'm not sure how much we kind of did a post-game show, right? So we kind of did that. We can go right into the Lions game. We can go latest injury info and what's going on there. Where are your heads today? I want to hear from you guys. Where do you want to start?
Well, I know Evan is passionate about the toughness that Mike Macdonald is bringing back to this team, right?
Oh my God. I loved that report from Brady Henderson this morning. Did you guys read it fully through?
I did.
Oh my gosh. I thought that line about, if you haven't read it, go check out Brady Henderson's report. I don't think it's paywalled. It's an ESPN article about Mike Macdonald and the new regime change and everything. He's kind of sort of culturally, I feel resetting in Seattle. And there's some really interesting quotes in there. I think it's on his Twitter timeline. So send people there. But there was an interesting quote that I'm sure you guys caught where, and there was a ton of discussion on Twitter about it today, but the player who showed up out of shape, he has these workout drills. I don't remember what specifically the workout is.
Conditioning test. You have to run, what is it? It's 25 yards out and back 3 times, and you get 60 seconds rest in between, and you have to do it 6 times. Something like that. And depending on what your weight class, your position, you have different times that you have to be able to do it in.
Yes, perfectly stated. And there was some guy apparently who showed up super out of shape and Mike Macdonald like lit into him. I forget the exact words that Brady used, and said it was like verbatim, like, you know, we would cut you on the spot if it wasn't for your guaranteed money or something. I'm paraphrasing lightly, but like, I thought that was crazy to read. I mean, did you guys have the same reaction? It got me going. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it clearly did. It clearly did. Nathan, how about you? What was your reaction?
I mean, there's a fine line here. Like, I think Pete, like, clearly, like, had lost it. Like, I don't want to say lost it, but like the discipline, the attention to detail, the buy-in, all of that stuff was gone by the end of Pete's tenure here. And like, you know, we would hear every couple of weeks about how they just weren't prepared or whatever. And so there is like, it did have like a breath of fresh air to it. And I did appreciate that he's like on top of it and he's holding these guys accountable and all that. And you know, it sounded like he's doing it in a good way too. Like there was a quote about how he's not always the bad guy. Like he's not just trying to get you, and you know, that he's, you know, the idea is, hey, let's make it right. Like take accountability for the mistakes. Let's talk about why it happened. Let's figure out where that, like, it's not just on the player. It's about the coaching and scheme and everything too. And so I liked a lot of that, but they're like, our buddy, Griff, was doing a lot of tweeting about how this is a Harbaugh team now. And like, you know, there is another end of this where like, if it goes too far and you've got a Matt Patricia in here, that's like, you know, there's horror stories about coaches and what they do to players when they're injured, and like, you know, how they're treating players and the reputation that your team gets. And so none of that like showed up in the story, but there was kind of part of me that was like, this, let's see how it ages. Let's see how this, like, you know, plays out over time, how he handles, like, how this stuff plays when the team's not 3-0, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I keep hearing this, and I've talked to Brady about this live, like this, you know, he's holding people accountable. He's more of a hard ass than Carroll. I don't know, man. I think if I wasn't there every day, or not every day, but almost every day for the past few months, and watching him interact and watching him on the, either he's a real poker player and he like literally is, you know, like an abusive coach who just does it in private when no one's watching, or like I'm a pretty good judge of people and I just don't see it. Does he have a disciplinarian side? Is he a no nonsense guy? Yeah, absolutely. And Brady and I talked about that as well. Like the examples of the rookies who are walking off the field and weren't going to sign autographs, and he yells at them. Like, no, Pete would not have done that. Totally agree. That's different. But I think if people walk away with this notion that Mike Macdonald is like Jim Harbaugh or like Bill Belichick, I think you're getting really the wrong picture. I don't think that's who he is. I think that he cares about his players. I think he shows care for his players, and he seems like a pretty good dude. So that's the one thing I would just caution a little bit about.
I would say I've never gotten those vibes from Harbaugh though either. Like Harbaugh, especially the last few like 5 years or so, he's really morphed into this like football grandpa type deal, like persona. And I mean, that's not the case with him at all. He's a total hard ass. But yeah, and again, nothing in the story led me to believe that like this is a problem. Like it all seemed like the right amount of firm touch. But I don't know, a lot of football coaches are assholes, and like I like the one thing about Pete is you didn't have to worry about how he treated players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Evan, what do you think is like at the root of why that concept, or like what you're reading in there got you going? Like, what is it?
Yeah, you know what it is? It's super simple. It's showing up prepared and taking your job super, super seriously. I think one of the ways that this team frustrated me so much over the past couple of years under this old regime is it felt like players just lost the intensity, the focus culturally. I mean, when you literally have the head coach of the franchise saying repeatedly, we showed up unprepared on Sunday. That doesn't freaking start on Sunday. That freaking starts in training camp. That freaking starts in the off season. Like, there's so many freaking decisions. I'm trying not to swear that like lead up to that, state of being in the season, that it's like those details freaking matter. Like, you're a professional football player. I'm sorry. Your job is to be in shape. I'm sorry. That's like bare freaking minimum to me. Like, you have access to world-class facilities, world-class trainers, world-class amenities, world-class food, ingredients. Like you've got it all. I'm sorry. There's no excuses for me in this. And like, that's just like the bare minimum to me. So to me, those details matter, and it ultimately leads to outcomes on Sunday. So I'm sorry. I'm passionate about this.
I love it. That's what I want to know.
It's a little bit of an edge that I feel like we haven't freaking had.
Yeah.
And like, it's like Nathan said, it feels like he's striking the right balance here. Like, even in that article, you hear direct quotes from players who are saying like, this guy's a nerd at the end of the day, and we freaking love him. Like, we love Mike Mack. It's not like players are not saying that or saying things of the opposite. Like, they like this guy. Former players like this guy. Doug Baldwin likes this guy. Cam Chancellor likes this guy. Richard Sherman likes this guy. Everybody's on the Mike Macdonald train. He is striking this balance between accountability and also, a fun culture. Like, this is everybody worried about this when Pete was leaving, was like, what's going to happen culturally? Like, are our players going to be treated well? Are we going to continue the same vibe? Well, guess what? Through 3 weeks, Mike has striked that balance. And this is a big freaking deal. So I'm shutting up now. I got it.
No, I love that, man. That was actually really well said. Nathan, I saw you really smiling. What was making you smile there?
I mean, Evan, is going to talk a big game about, it's the details and the culture stuff. But look, you guys, in our group chat, we've had nonstop fanfic about our jacked coach physically intimidating players and setting the physical standard for what it means to be a peak athlete.
Bro, I have to jump in here. I said this in our chat.
Analysis and all. And
you cannot show up to training camp and Mike Macdonald is in better shape than you. Unacceptable.
I don't think that's hard at all, actually.
Unacceptable. I'm sorry. Continue.
I think that's valid, and what I really see, and what I like what I connect with what you're saying, Evan, is I just don't feel like the bar's been that high around here, and I don't think it's been consistent. I think it hasn't been consistent for coaches. I don't think it's been consistent for players, and I don't think it's been consistent year over year, and. I honestly think that there are very human reasons for that make me like Pete all the more. But as a football fan who wants your team to be excellent, it is nice. It is nice to see the bar held high, and that the only people that are walking on that field are people that have cleared that bar.
Do you remember how many conversations we had like last season, particularly around how the defense just looked like gassed and like worn down and like almost out of shape? Like, that was a frequent point of conversation. Anecdotal, but like, come on. This is like the bare minimum.
Well, but here's one of the things that I've getting into the season and going to games. One of the things that's like really shocked me is that the casual fan is not where you are, Evan. They are just aren't.
Say more. What do you mean by that?
The stadium is less full. It has more opposing fans.
Yeah.
And I'm saying like these are passionate fans coming in, but like I just get the sense that the casual fan feels like the LOB era is over with Pete having gone, and have not yet fallen in love with this era. And I've seen this happen from coach to coach where it's like, I can tell you the moment where the city fell in love with the Mike Holmgren Seahawks. I can kind of tell you like the moment where the city fell in love with the Pete Carroll Seahawks. We haven't hit that point yet. with the Mike Macdonald Seahawks. And I think this crew is like, we're pilled, right? Like we are already believing, not even necessarily this year or this next game or whatever, but we believe in where this is going. And so we're all super excited. Ironically, Nathan, the most excited, has them in the NFC Championship in their first year, which is not looking like a bad prediction right now, by the way. But I think that there's a lot of people that are just not there. And to me, as a football fan, it's kind of curious because I love the way this team's playing. I wonder if part of it is also the biggest problem with this team is the biggest problem with a lot of the most recent teams, where it just feels like the offensive line is a problem again. This is just more of the same. Like, I wonder if that's part of it. I wonder if like Geno still doesn't have as many diehard fans as Russ had. Like, and maybe they see that he's older and they're like, I don't know. I could kind of go on and guess. I'm like, I love this team. I love this team more than I've loved any Seahawks team for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I'll respond to that with is like the previous generation had some really loud, prominent personalities. And I know it came to be over time, but you had the Richard Shermans of the world. You had Marshawn Lynch's. Those are the Pete Carrolls. Those are once in like a football century type of like personalities. And we were just super lucky to experience them all at one time. And I don't think it's reasonable to expect that again. And I don't think anybody really is, but there is probably like a degree of emotional attachment to those personalities that is gone now. Right. And I don't know. I don't, do we have a single player on this team that has like a Richard Sherman or Marshawn Lynch level type of personality? Do we have one?
On the field.
Not
Go
that
ahead,
level.
Nathan.
I was gonna say DK's the biggest personality on the team, I think. No, you don't
Really?
think so? I don't know. He's doing like the Lululemon commercials, right? And then I think
Well, he's
so.
definitely like he's doing more screen stuff than other people. I think of him as a very flat kind of personality, like a reluctant personality.
There's
for me, it's
dude
like
that's
Spoon. Spoon on the
Okay.
field is lit. I mean, Spoon is I mean, off the field he's not as like, he's a little bit more reserved, but I mean, if you don't get excited watching Devin Witherspoon play, it's, I don't know what. Like, that's crazy to me.
I'm thinking of even more like I'm thinking like beyond the football field though.
Yeah.
Right. You
I
had like
see.
Marshawn Lynch, like in commercials, you know what I mean? Richard Sherman
But those
doing
guys, that wasn't when they first started, that wasn't happening. And Marshawn Lynch really, like, for a long time, until almost he left Seattle, the only commercials he was in was like Beacon Plumbing. Like he was not, he was avoiding. You guys watched the Dave Pearson thing. Holy crap.
That was so
That was awkward, right?
so awkward. I thought Dave Pearson was gonna like give him an elbow across the table.
I mean, it was Pearson never does interviews. I mean, I'm taking this a different way, but Pearson never does interviews, and for good reason. I mean, the guy is kind of the keeper of the jewels in there. Like, he knows where everybody is buried, and you can kind of see him kind of like, you kind of get a peek inside the crypt in that, like the dynamic between him and Marshawn. Holy crap, man.
It kind of scares me, man. Dave Pearson, like if I messed up, I feel like he'd like send a PI after me or something.
Well, the thing is, he's not the top dog. Like, coaches yell at him, GMs, like he gets it as much as he gives it, I'm sure. But I could just imagine, like, now being in that locker room, the idea that a player would be like yelling at him, or like that he would follow someone into the shower, like, this is, I cannot imagine how, it's already an awkward setup in there. Like, that's odd. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know who. I guess I thought you were talking about who's going to be the face of this team to fans, that fans are going to fall in love with because of what they represent. For me, it's Geno.
Sure.
I think Spoon is a really good candidate. I think there's some guys on I don't know what's going to happen because he only has a 1-year contract. I think Tyrell Dodson, talk about a lovable guy. solid, like physical player, plays hard, comes from nowhere, and already doing the children's hospital thing, kind of on the DL. And I don't know if you heard his answer to why he does it, but he didn't grow up with anyone really who did stuff for him. Like, he is a genuinely amazing guy. So I don't know. I think there's some candidates out there, but it's true. Boye Mafe, is not necessarily like the most engaging personality, right? But he could be one of the best players on the team.
It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think this team is going to have to end up having more of a... I mean, it's going to have to be Mike. A lot of it's going to have to be Mike. He's going to have to take that on. But this feels like it's a team that's going to go more in the, like, Belichick direction, not in terms of personalities or anything like that, but where it's like, the thing we do is everyone puts their head down and does their job, and that's what's cool about our team. And like, there's some charm to that, and fans can definitely rally behind that kind of a thing. But yeah, like right now, like, I don't know, like there's DK and his foursomes, and then there's like, but then there's the polar opposites where it's like Witherspoon's a ton of fun to watch on the field, but like I have not ever, I can't think of a single quote or memorable anything about him off the field. So they don't, and even Gino, like, for all the like crap, what's the thing he said? I didn't call back or whatever.
I didn't write back. They write me.
I didn't write back. Yeah, like he's not. I don't feel like he's a big personality like on the podium or anything either.
You know who I feel like could come out of their shell a little bit is Tariq Woolen. I could see him like. I feel like we could see some tweets from him after like some lockdowns and some good matchups this year. Like they sweep the 49ers or something. I could see. Do you remember how like in the LOB days, I remember after every game ended, I'd be refreshing Richard Sherman's Twitter account because I'd be like, he's going to drop some crap. Like, I can't wait. This is almost more exciting than the actual football game. I feel like Tariq might go down that path, not to such an extent, but I mean, you guys are right. Like, I think the personalities are just not as strong, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I do think like sports are emotional. These are like emotional attachments that we get to players and who they are as human beings. And the reality is we just spent a decade with a ton of crazy high level personalities, and it's like a relationship just ended. And now we're starting to learn about some new personalities, and it's just different. And I think it's to be expected.
It's kind of a good point about Baltimore, by the way, Nathan, because that is kind of a nameless, faceless organization through the years. There's definitely been stars. I mean, obviously, but it kind of is just a system. It's like
it's
Ozzie
Lamar
Newsome
and it's Ray Lewis, and those are like the two players that like jump out at you as like, oh yeah, the Ravens, like, and Flacco, I guess. I don't know.
Right? No, it's been. But like, it's been about excellence, and it's been about like meeting that bar, and there is probably some similarities to that, and there might be new names, new faces each year. We got another new member. Aziz Rashid has joined. Welcome to the crew, Aziz, or Azaz, I think that might be. I might have mispronounced that. Welcome, and thank you for signing up. So injury stuff. Let's talk about this for a second. Wednesdays are typically the day that we learn injury. They have to file injury report. It's a Monday night game, so now that's going to be tomorrow. And the coach did not say anything about it. Did not want to talk about it. He never wants to talk about it. What we did learn is Uchenna Nwosu was suited up for practice. I don't know, and because I can't say anything else unless the other tweet. I just basically wait for the other beat reporters to tweet something because I don't want to get in trouble. I can't tell you about anything else that I have seen, but this is not based off of me reporting anything. I assumed as soon as the injuries happened that Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams aren't going to play. That's my assumption. Don't know if that's true. Don't know if they practice. Have no idea. So how big of a deal is that? Go ahead.
Do you really feel that way about Leonard Williams, especially with him coming back? I know he didn't finish the game, but like, I mean, rib injuries, isn't that something
A lot of times you can get an injection and play through.
Yeah.
Like it depends. I just don't know. I guess maybe it's just me being conservative. I think what I'm expecting is that I'm expecting Kenneth Walker back. I'm expecting Uchenna Nwosu back. I'm expecting Jerome Baker back. And then I'm expecting Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy not to play. What's the net there, like, for this game?
I think it could be.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah. I was going to go to the same place. Like, of all the people that you want back, the two that are the ones that aren't coming back are the most important ones to get back, I think.
For this game.
Yeah.
I mean, David Montgomery is no joke, and that Lions run game is like top 3 best in the NFL, maybe.
Yeah.
They're really good. So
yeah. Did you guys see the play where they like carried him like 10 yards down the field and he was just floating in the air?
He said he was laughing the entire time.
But Brian, you should be super confident even if they're out, because Jaron Reed would step up, right, and really plug the hole and make sure that the run game like doesn't like absolutely get pounded down our throats, right? Optimistic.
Jaron Reed slander aside, Hankins is a dude. Like, he is incredibly fun to watch. He is a problem solver for them in the run game. So, like, I'm nervous not having, Leo most, but also Murphy. But Hankins does a ton of work for them, and that's kind of the saving grace there. Is that they have a absolute stud run defender there. Yeah.
It's nice that he had his best game as a Seahawk last week. And it's nice that they did a pretty decent job defending the run after the early part of the game. I don't know about you guys. I expect them to get run on in this game. Like, that's my expectation. I think I don't think they're going to be able to stop the run. Like, not necessarily that they're going to give up 300 yards rushing, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's another 130, 140 yard kind of game that they surrender. You seem to have a different perspective, Nathan.
Oh no, I think Hankins, like, he could have another huge game just because of how good he is in the run game. I mean, the one thing that I guess is going to be really interesting is the NFL as a whole, and I think you can definitely see it with Mike's defense so far this year too, is like there's this whole like running resurgence and too high is killing the league and all this stuff. A lot of what it is coaches are really maximizing the like hey, how much do I care about the run? Like, everyone, like, if you give up 5 or 6 yards a run, people start to freak out about that because that's a big number for the run, but it's still less than most teams are averaging passing. And so you're seeing defenses really like start to test this boundary. But now with the Lions, like, you may go, like, Mike may go a different way with this, and he may have a much more he may focus more on how to stop the run and preparing against that, because there's a lot of times like he's not putting his linebackers in particular in good positions to stop the run. Like, he's asking a lot of them. And it's working. And like, but against this team, he may approach it differently and try to give them more help and scheme this differently. So it's going to be super interesting to see, because the one thing with the Lions is not only are they really good at running, they're going to do it. They're going to do it over and over again. They like it. And so like, you're not going to trick them into getting away from it. Like, they're going to make you defend it, and it'll be fascinating to see how do they do it without 2 of their starting defensive tackles, and how do they just scheme differently compared to what we've seen against other teams.
I mean, how nice is it to have some faith that you've got, if there's any way to do it, and there's like Mike Macdonald's going to figure something out. Like, he knows this coordinator. He knows the way that these players, he knows. With Uchenna Nwosu maybe making his return, I can't believe I'm asking this, but like, who do you want him? Whose snaps do you want him to take?
I got yelled at by Dana, but like, is Chenna ultimately a trade candidate here? Or are they gonna?
I don't think so with his contract, right? Because he's just extended.
Well, finish your thought. Why did that come up for you, Nathan?
Just in thinking more off season because of this question. Like I don't know that Chena's in the top 2 guys I want out there, and like they're gonna rotate these guys a ton. Like he'll get plenty of playing time. It doesn't really work like that, but he's very good. He could be potentially valuable to trade ship, and like you've got 2 guys that I think are at least as good, if not better. So do you try to leverage a strength and see if you can find a guard or something in the offseason? I don't know.
To me, that's a position where having an abundance of talent at, though, is not a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
Rotate those guys in, keep them fresh. Like, Derek Hall goes down, Boye Mafe goes down. Like, you want backup there, but I do get
That's what they got Jamie Sheriff on the practice squad for, though.
I'm a Jamie Sheriff guy until I'm proven otherwise. I was also a Levi Bell guy, so take that for what it's worth. But I guess I could see him taking some Derek Hall snaps, and I don't know how much I want Derek Hall being off the field right now. Yeah. And as much as I love Chenna, I think Chenna is a better like all-around player than. Well, I don't know if I even believe that anymore. Like I really think Hall and Mafe are playing both parts of the game, run and pass, extremely well. They're at least comparable, but then you got to throw in Draymond Jones, who everyone else can be like, and you guys will probably roll your eyes. There it is. Draymond Jones played a hell of a game against the Dolphins. He played a really nice game against the Dolphins. And so I think you're 4 deep at that position. And I am kind of curious. I think Draymond Jones may be one of the guys that they rotate. If the Murphy Leonard Williams thing turns out to be true, I think you might see Draymond Jones roll back inside a little bit more. Might see a little bit more Miles Adams. We'll see. But that's one of the things that came to me this week is like, okay, Chenna's back. And I'm like,
what does that even mean, actually?
what is that going to do? And Kenneth Walker, assuming he comes back, I mean, that's going to be great. Lions, DJ Reader, that run defense is legit. Like, I don't know that running is going to be the key to this game for the Seahawks as much as it is for the Lions.
They're second in run defense.
Yeah, that used to be a weakness. It's not a weakness anymore. There's a good comment here from our new member, Azaz. Says, gang, 3 games in 10 days. So Monday Night Football, then they come back home to play the Giants on Sunday, and then they host the 49ers on Thursday. So I do think that plays a role in assessing what injuries, what guys you like try to play through it, what guys you give a little bit of rest, because this is a little bit of a gauntlet in the schedule, at least not necessarily the teams. I mean, obviously the Lions and the 49ers are, but just the amount of football in a short period of time.
It's stupid. Why does any team have to do this? It seems like this should be a very easy thing for the NFL to avoid, and really, really dumb. Yeah.
It is what it is now, though, and that's a lot of football in a short amount of time. So I mean, think about. I know this is obvious, but usually it's 2 games in 14 days. You're talking about 3 games in 10 days. Like, it's a big difference for them physically to manage that. And let's cross our fingers that they make it through that okay. We'll probably get to Patreon questions here in a sec, Nathan, if you want to start getting ready for those. If you haven't already, sign up at patreon.com/hawkblogger, and you can get access to the Patreon Slack channel where you can ask us questions every week. You also get access to all of the audio versions of Hawkblogger Mornings and post-game shows and all that good stuff over at patreon.com. And the community there is awesome. So I hope you guys take advantage and join over there. Conversation just kind of keeps going on, even when we're not in it. Nathan, you ready for our first?
I need Evan had a comment that was really important. So let's do that first, and then I'm totally ready.
How do you guys feel about Mr. Stone Forsyth going against one of the top defenders in the NFL this upcoming week?
Can I tell you that my corny humor, like I really like what Griff put out a while ago about Boulder Five Scythe.
Wait, what? I don't understand.
Stone.
all that
Boulder.
gear you're on that's
Foresight.
gotten you so huge, Evan. We need to get Stone on the same.
Is he like small or something? Like what's
Who?
the joke? Stone.
No, he's massive.
I was like, wait, why?
he's big. It's just a totally
Like, you're saying he would
cheesy.
play better if he was on steroids or something?
I don't know.
Functional
but
strength maybe would be better. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
here's the thing. I talked to Pharaoh Brown today. Like, he's a weapon as a blocker. Nathan, you posted just before this video. You want to share what you were you're noticing?
Big old pancake of Jalen Phillips. It was really cool.
Yeah,
And solo block too. Like just planted him.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's almost a third tackle for you. He's a huge tight end. Like, he's a big player. And here's the thing, Evan, listen, because I know you're not paying attention.
I am listening.
We'll see. How many players? Okay, Aiden Hutchinson has 6.5 sacks. Yes, leader in the NFL, right? How many sacks does the next highest sacker on the Lions have?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe like 1 or 2.
1. How many players have at least 1 sack
On the Lions?
on the Lions?
3, 4?
2 guys, just Aiden Hutchinson, and I think it's Levi Onwuzurike. There's only 3 players on the entire roster that have at least a half a sack. So it's basically Aiden Hutchinson and nobody. And they also just lost guys to injury. And they have one of the lowest pressure rates, like I think it's like 29th or 30th in the NFL. So what you're going to hear all week is Aiden Hutchinson's going to eat our lunch. I don't know about you guys, but I would take, if I'm an offensive line coach, I would take one dominant pass rusher that I can identify and nobody else over a group of solid pass rushers like every day. So yeah, Aiden Hutchinson's a problem. I doubt he'll have 2 tackles and no sacks like he did last year against Jake Curhan. But I don't know, man. I'm not sure I believe that he's going to dominate the way most people think.
Do we just need to like double team this guy the entire game?
Double team him, triple with a chip. Like just don't let that be the guy that beats you.
Fall on his ass and still give up a sack. So,
bro, I can't. That triggered me.
Do you guys want Christian Haynes to, like, if they said we're going to start Christian Haynes, his first game as a start?
Is this even a discussion?
It is
Patreon questions.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. All right.
Demonetized.
Let's head over to the Patriot questions, Nathan. What do you got?
All right. Colin has a question for Dana, but also all the guys. So I think we can still answer this. Although I don't know if it's going to be as interesting for us. First question: have your season expectations changed from before week 1 based on their 3-0 start? We were all pretty positive. Brian, how much of your expectations changed at this point?
I'm still recovering from that comment. How much have they changed? Well, I have gained more confidence in the defense than I had. I was already feeling pretty good. I gained more confidence in the secondary. I've gained more confidence in the linebackers. I've gained a lot more confidence in the edge group. I've actually, I wouldn't say lost confidence, but I've been not as excited about the defensive tackle group as I was hoping to be. Not because they've been bad, but because I thought they would just be especially Byron Murphy, just like a total game wrecker, and it hasn't happened yet. Offensively, and I know you didn't ask for all this detail, but this is kind of the only way I can answer it, is the offense has not yet looked like I expected it to look, but it's been nice the last 2 weeks to see DK Metcalf start to look like the guy that I thought he would look like. and I don't know if you guys heard it today, but we finally got him to acknowledge that he spent his offseason, his number one thing he worked on was contested catches. And he said that he would have dropped that pass that he caught if it was last year. And so the guy's catching 71% of his passes through 3 games. That's with a couple drops. All that I think is really positive. So generally speaking, I think I'm a little bit more positive about the team than I was before. I'm a lot more positive about them relative to the rest of the NFC. I think the NFC is way worse than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, perfect. That answer is actually, he also wanted to know what affected your change in expectations. So the detailed answer was good. Brian, I'll actually go right back to you. Jess has a question. What is your take on Drake Thomas? He seemed to have a good game against the Dolphins.
I almost tried to talk to him today, and I don't know, decided not to. But I'm really intrigued. Evan can verify that I was like texting pictures of Drake Thomas once he came on the practice field.
This question was asked of the Drake Thomas cult member, like founding group right here. Okay. Brian is a cult member.
You go to these practices year after year and you see like guys roll onto the field and you see that they're all amazing athletes in their own right. But there's times where there's just guys that look like, whoa, that guy is like built to play this game. He's built to play that position. And Drake Thomas is one of those guys. Like, I'm like, I've never seen this guy play, but I just look at him warming up and I'm like, holy crap. Like, this guy looks like a player. And then he makes the team, which I didn't expect.
I have an idea.
What?
You could add a Patreon tier where it's like $1.50 a month or something like ridiculously cheap, and just post like close zoom up photos of this man's like quads and similar, like on Patreon privately.
This is why I only take some of your marketing advice, because I don't want to end up in jail or be labeled a creeper. But it's true. He has got like quads that like rival Derek Hall's, and that's saying something.
Yeah.
So I thought he made a great play on the ball and coverage. I have a feeling that's what they like about him. I think he's especially good in coverage, and I like the guy. I want to see more. I think all of a sudden inside linebackers got a lot of interesting players there.
Evan, Sam Brown wants to know, would you rather spend some draft capital at the trade deadline to try and shore up the interior offensive line, or hold the picks and continue to try to build through the draft, even if it means the interior offensive line in particular, doesn't improve this year?
I think you've got to take the long-term rebuild approach with this one. This is nobody expected them to be as good as they are this year. They're still I don't want to say rebuilding team, but building towards something team. And, the guard position, people are so desperate around the league for these types of players. It would take it feels like it would take an overpay to pry one from another team. And I would so much rather invest like a first rounder next year or the year after at the guard position instead of trying to salvage it this year. I don't know. Do you guys have a different take? I'd be curious, Nathan.
No, I think what you said is exactly right. Like, this is not just go find one. Like, the whole NFL is desperately trying to find good guard play.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not even an option really to think about going and trading for a good guard, because they just almost don't exist.
And remember, like, there's a contract disparity thing here. Like, very average guards are making like let's not forget Damian Lewis got like $19 million a year, something in that range. I forgot what it was. Like,
was it really that much?
It was a lot, man.
It was a lot. I don't know if it was that much, but it was a lot.
It's definitely a lot. I was like, holy crap, I forgot. If it was that much, I'm like, jeez. And he's actually injured right now. But that's the thing. I actually went to start doing research for a show and or an article about who are the guard candidates to potentially look to trade for. You go out and you look, and it's basically the good guards run out as soon as the good teams do. Like, it's like almost a correlation. Who knows if it's causation, but the correlation between good guard play and good records is very, very high right now. So yeah, do you want to go out and get somebody who's worse than you've got and trade something to get them? Like, you know, and how many times have we gotten a player in here who had good grades or looked good somewhere else, and then they don't translate here for whatever reason? So there's just a lot of risk to it. It's a little annoying that that guy in Washington who never started before, he's now a starter for the Commanders. Let me pull up his name before I forget. It is Nick Allegretti. Never started before, and he's like a solidly above average guard now. He's like a 70 graded guy. I don't know if you've watched him play for Jaden Daniels in Cincinnati, but he was a big part of that win. I was like, damn it. I think he probably cost like $1 million a year. I'm going to look up his contract right now.
I don't know what the solution is with this position when your like general manager is openly saying they're overdrafted and overpaid at the position.
Yeah,
So,
Derek really nailed that when he was saying that. Like, we're all freaking about this and talking about what are they going to do. And like, this is one where I think it just ain't going to change. Like, John Schneider doesn't care.
I don't even know what you hope for.
I think I will say that if it's as clear as it is right now that guard is the one weakness on this roster, I think he will draft accordingly. I do think he'll go even into the first round if he needs to address it, if it's that clear that that's what you need. But by the way, Nick Allegretti, who had never started before, signed a 3-year, $16 million deal. That's like the craziness going on and turned out it worked out for the Commanders, but that's a lot of money for a guy that is like 30 and never started, you know, like that's just the state of the guard market.
Brian, Marcel wants to know, he said, if I remember correctly, Brian, you said that the Dolphins were one of the worst teams in defending tight ends. Purely based on the eye test, the offense appeared to be focusing on getting the ball to the tight ends. Noah Fant was, I think, the highest graded player on the team by PFF, right? Do you think our coaching staff has an eye on stats like this?
I think our coaching staff has an eye on all the stats. And I asked Ryan Grubb, when they start with their game plan, do they start looking at the numbers or do they start looking at film? And he said they start with the numbers and then they go to the film to verify. And he said that ultimately all the real insights into how they develop their game plan come from film. So yeah, I think they have a pretty good idea what everybody's doing, but ultimately I think they're looking at matchups. I think they're looking at mistakes or tendencies that players have and where they have strengths or tendencies that can kind of take advantage of those. So yeah, it's a good question though.
I guess this one's kind of for both of you. Hawks fan Matt Mann wants to know, I'm curious as to how each of you would describe your general demeanor and state of mind when watching Seahawks games.
That's such a good question. You go first, Nathan. You go first.
I think I'm generally fairly relaxed. I don't know, Evan. You
BS. BS. Let me restate for the record. I am standing next to Nathan Ernst. Week 1, opening day, Seattle Seahawks, Denver Broncos. Kenneth Walker is absolutely ripping apart the Broncos' run defense. And let me tell you, this guy is screaming, pound the rock. Run the football.
That was the Nathan next to me.
Down their throats. Down their throats.
That was your friend Nathan. The other Nathan.
No, that was you, buddy. That was you.
Maybe a little bit. I was super anxious in that game. I got very anxious in that game. I would say anxious also would describe you pretty well, Evan.
Evan's kind of quiet. He's like for the guy that's so rambunctious on this show. Yeah. I think when I've seen Evan, he kind of clams up a little bit during games.
I get very nervous. And I mean, it flip-flops between like I'm quiet, thinking like strategically how I can impact this game, like completely delusionally. Like, what do I need to do? Do I need to run on the field? Do I need to tackle somebody? And then like when the tide starts turning, I turn into like a demon.
You heard it here, folks. Evan needs to be flooded with ideas of how he can impact games during the game. Make sure you get in his mentions and let him know. I mean, I think for people that don't know, I mean, I I'm generally pretty crazy during games. I'm kind of the opposite, the inverse of Evan. I carry around a lot of stress and I let it all out at football games. I just scream my friggin' head off the whole time.
You're actually the craziest fan I've ever witnessed in person. Like that I've sat with, to be clear.
Yes.
It
is uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Yeah, you don't cross a line, but it's like you're into the football game. There's no doubt.
I mean, I feel like I got a job to do there, and like the whole reason to be there is if you want to look a way to influence a game, it's to scream your head off at the right times. And honestly, it's been years. I mean, the Russell Wilson game, 2022 was kind of close, but for the most part, I think it's pretty rare for there to be games where the crowd is as invasive as it once was. So, yeah.
I feel like that's this year. I mean, I only went to the one game this year, but it sounded loud on TV watching the Dolphins game, and it wasn't, it wasn't peak LOB. It wasn't an NFC Championship game, but I thought the home opener was loud. Like I was, when I was there, I was like, okay, it's back a little bit, especially considering how putrid the offense was. And I felt like the stadium consistently got pretty loud for the defense. It didn't seem to get too discouraged by how bad things were getting. But I don't know what your take is on that, if it feels different than like the last couple years.
I mean, the way I look at it is, are they cheering when they're in the huddle? Or are they cheering? Do they get loud? They haven't cheered when they're in the huddle since like 2006, honestly. Like maybe sometimes during the 2013 run, like in the NFC Champ, like that kind of thing. But regular season wise, a lot of times, they're not really affecting the offense until, I don't know. So that's one, and then just volume. And I generally, maybe my hearing's just gone bad, but I don't go to bed with my ears ringing. And it used to be like something I would literally close my eyes and my ears would just be like ringing. And I just don't have that anymore. And it's been a long time since that was the case. We got more questions there, Nathan?
Yes. Evan, after this week's 49ers Rams game, how do you feel about Seattle relative to both of those teams? That's from Jason A.
Brian, I'm going to give this to you because somebody's knocking on my door.
Okay. Sorry. What was the question?
How do you feel about the Seahawks relative to the Rams and the Niners, especially after the last week's game?
I think the Niners have earned the mantle until somebody takes it from them. And I think that as of now, they've got some injuries, they've had some flubs. I still think they are the most dangerous team in the NFC. And the Seahawks have not been competitive with them really for a number of years. So until the Seahawks knock them off, then I think you've got to assume that they are the better team. Right now, I can't wait for that game. I haven't felt that way against the Seahawks 49ers game for a long time.
So on that note, actually, kind of continuing what we were just talking about a second ago, More Bobo has a question in here. If the Hawks manage to win the next two games and go into that Thursday night game 5-0 against the Niners, what do you think the atmosphere at Lumen's going to be? Do you think that there's going to be like more buy-in, like from just the broader fan base? Do you think they'll be loud during the huddle? Like that's got to be. Thursday nights are kind of tough, I guess, but I don't know.
I mean, this is related to a super chat we got from Detail here. It said, if the Hawks win this week, will you guys think they're legit, or will you feel like you can't fully buy in until we see them play the 49ers? I mean, until you beat the champs, I just don't think you can really crown yourself. And we saw that with the 2013, 2012 team, where it was like that game at the end of the 2012 season where the Seahawks just dismantled the 49ers 42-13. That set up the next like 6 years. Like, I mean, the 49ers basically didn't beat them again for like years. And so the nice thing is the 49ers have a glass chin. They've shown that as a franchise. When they start going down, they don't do what the Seahawks did and just go to like 7, 8, 9 wins. They go down to like 3, 4 wins and hire, farting head coaches and like, make, drafting in the top 5 for years on end. So the Seahawks have a chance to deliver the Tyson hook or the uppercut, whatever you like, to that glass chin. And I think it starts that Thursday. But again, they got to get through these next 2 games before they get the opportunity to do that.
Evan, if the Seahawks are 5-0 going into that Thursday night game, you want to go to the game?
I would, but I'm going to be on the other side of the world, unfortunately.
Fake fan. Fake fan. Fake 12.
But I will say, I think it will be like a playoff-like environment if that's the case.
Yeah, I got pretty excited just thinking about that.
Yeah.
Okay, I think last Patreon question here, because we've covered some of these other ones. Chris Bailey wants to know, Evan, is the NFC West now a weak division?
Good question.
I don't think so at all, to be honest with you. This is, I think the current reflection of the NFC West is mostly injury driven. Like the Rams going into this season were expected to be, I think, like playoff contenders and like maybe win a playoff game or 2. And the Niners were NFC West NFC favorites for the most part. And obviously they've been to the Super Bowl a couple of times now. And I mean, I think the Cardinals are on the up and up. I know everybody on this podcast hates them, but I think it's mostly injury driven right now. I don't think there are bad football teams in our.
Do you guys think though that NFC North is I think clearly the best division in the NFC? Green Bay, Detroit, Minnesota.
Yeah.
With Chicago being the worst team of that 4.
It's
Do you
got
guys disagree with that?
Of the NFC?
Of the NFC.
Oh, the NFC. No, I don't think I disagree.
I don't disagree. Yeah. I mean,
and then even from there, then I think you go NFC West after that. But NFC South is a little frisky. I mean, the Saints have been better than they thought. We'll see about Atlanta. We'll see about Tampa Bay. And then who's the team I'm missing?
Carolina.
Oh yeah. Never mind. But
hey, that's the Andy Dalton-led Carolina Panthers. We got to put some respect on them for a week.
They beat the crap out of the Raiders.
That's an embarrassing, man. I mean,
what did you guys think about the Raiders coach's comments? Because I thought they were crappy.
Oh, the business decision comments?
Yeah, the business. This is the thing I hate. I don't like that. This is the thing that made me a little nervous about the Mike Macdonald thing today is like this fake tough guy coach stuff. I just hate it.
I mean, Anthony Pierce is like known for being a hard ass, right? Like to the extreme.
Like former linebacker, right? Like he played so long ago and all that.
Like that's his whole sort of like image, is my understanding. I don't think his comments were that crazy though. Like, it's one thing to say that publicly, which is it the public part of it that rubs it wrong for you? Because, I mean, assuming the premise is correct that veteran, highly paid football players on his team are making business decisions, is it that weird for him to be like, okay, then we're going to in return make business decisions against them?
I think the thing that rubs me wrong is 1, doing it in public. There's no reason to, and 2. Your job as a head coach is to get your players to play hard. So you go out there and you're crapping on your players for not playing hard, but buddy, that's your job too.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. I think it's a cell phone. I think that's a really good point. But I do grant some grace to a first-time head coach and a former player who's just like really pissed in the moment, and maybe his PR guy or whoever will coach him on that. But
I mean, if that's about Devontae Adams, though, Devontae Adams is a bit of a headache.
Well, he's probably not going to be there. I mean, he's going to get traded probably somewhere. It's funny, like there's people, 49ers fans talking about that. Well, we should trade for Hassan Reddick. And other people are like, we don't have any money. Like, and I'm like, well, they do this year, but they don't afterwards. Like 49ers fans they're down bad. Like they don't know what to do because they don't have the answer to go like get a guy like they've gotten in the past to go do something. I don't think they got a Christian McCaffrey move to make. They might not even have a Christian McCaffrey at all. And yeah, I kind of they're like, we should bench Devondre Campbell. And I'm like, okay, so that who can play? Like, you know, like good luck with that. There's a reason you signed that guy. Drake Greenlaw is not going to be back for a while, and I don't know,
Bang,
man.
bang, regression gang. That's
Yeah,
where they're
baby.
at.
I love it.
Telling you.
I love it. Yeah.
I don't even remember what question we were answering anymore. I think I derailed it, but that's it for Patreon questions.
Awesome. Well, that was awesome. Thank you all at patreon.com/hawkblogger for asking those questions and supporting the show. You can ask questions every single week for the crew, patreon.com/hawkblogger. And you also get great things like the audio versions of the Hawkblogger Mornings pod and a bunch of other stuff. So go ahead and take advantage and enjoy. So we are at an hour. We have not talked as much about, you know, the details of this game. We got into it a little bit. Let's spend a few minutes on this and then we'll go into predictions. All right. So,
can I start us off with a trivia question?
Please.
So, over the last 3 matchups between the Lions and the Seahawks over the past, I think it's 3 years. No, it was 2020, 2022, and 2023. How many touchdowns do you think have been scored in total across those 3 matchups, both teams?
Oh, it's a huge number.
Yeah, I mean these teams have just done stupid games. What was it even last year? Like last year they both
37-32 last year, something like that, and then
didn't Seattle hang a 50 burger on him?
51-20, something like, and 2 years ago, and then it was like 48-45. 2 years
How
ago.
many touchdowns across both teams?
Between both teams?
Between both teams. Put your predictions in the chat. I'm curious to know, like, chat people or chatter what you think.
20 was my first guess, but that seems like, is that?
No, that's too low.
That'd be
Right?
140
Right?
points, right?
I'll say 25. 24.
Brian?
I don't know. I'll say 25 then.
Wait, is this price right?
Yeah, it's priced right you.
31 touchdowns
Whoa.
over 3 matchups.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
If this offense, especially with the way the offensive line's playing, if they throw up another 30 plus points and he has another big game in a dome, I'm going to get him a crown. I mean, this guy, like, he has had insane numbers. He's played 4 games in an official dome. I'm not counting SoFi in the last 2 years. Every game but one, he's thrown for 320 or more yards. Every single one, he's thrown for at least 2 touchdowns. It's just kind of crazy, man. So, yeah. Josh Cashman saying we're going to get a 12-7 game. I don't know if that's even possible in this game. Like, I don't know I don't know I can see that. But, I mean, the Lions have had trouble scoring, and they haven't played that good of defenses. I don't know if you guys looked at that, but, like, everyone's like, hey, the Seahawks defense hasn't played anybody. Who the hell have the Lions offense played?
The Rams, the Cardinals, and
the Bucks.
The Bucks.
And they're not, like, at least the Seahawks are statistically the best defense in the game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Lions are not even a top 10 offense against those defenses. I'm not saying the Lions aren't good. I'm not trying to do that, but, like, I kind of feel like the Lions may be the ones that have to, like, that are surprised about what it's like to play against this defense than vice versa. Do you buy that?
Agree.
Yeah.
If the interior of the defense can hold up, then I think that's true. Yeah. I mean, there is a scenario where they really just, like, gash. They come away and they're like, oh, they averaged 8 yards a carry. This was the problem.
Would you rather have Mike Macdonald game planning the defense or Ben Johnson game planning the offense?
Mike Macdonald. A million times.
Yeah. Ben Johnson's pathetic. He's horrible.
I love your pettiness, man. I relate.
I hate him. I hate his face. I hate the way he looks at things. I hate the wit comments he makes in the press. He's a loser, man. Seriously. Big baby loser.
That's the kind of expert analysis you get on this show. Nathan, what about you? Like, what's your thought on this game?
I am officially in the anxiety zone.
Okay.
I don't
Talk to
know
us.
for any good reason. I mean, the running game thing, the defensive tackles being hurt. It's their first real opportunity. It's Monday night. Like you were talking about, like, hey, this team hasn't had its moment yet. This is going to be a moment. But what kind of moment is it going to be for Mike Macdonald? I think they should win. I think they could even like. I still kind of think maybe they're going to win big. Like they might be a really good football team, but then I think about Anthony Bradford. So I'm just in like this like horrible feedback cycle of like hype and extreme doubt, and I don't know what to do with myself.
Why am I more confident that they are going to beat the Lions than I were that they were going to beat the Dolphins?
Because you have PTSD.
Hey, the audience doesn't like that term, Nathan.
Sorry, is it not politically correct? Sorry.
Yeah,
there is a certain group that does not like anything that resembles shade being thrown at any of our past.
I mean, you have a word
heroes.
for them, right? Is there a word that you use to describe them?
Pete Carroll cult members. I have designated them as a. Actually, I'm not going to finish that sentence. I don't want to get us demonetized tonight.
Thank you.
The Osama bin Laden thing is not going to get us demonetized.
I was going to double down on that.
Like, yeah, that's fun. All right, Evan, talk to me about the score of this game. What's the score of this game going to be? Can you do that without offending anybody?
Or without praising any like terrorists or dictators, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. This one's tough. I'm really worried about Seattle's ability to stop the run in this game. And I'm really worried about Seattle's ability to run the ball in this game. They have a really strong run defense, but at the same time, I think if they can generate like consistent pressure on Goff, he's thrown 2 straight pick sixes against Seattle in back-to-back games. I think if you can generate consistent pressure on him like they have been doing for the past 3 weeks, if they do those 3 things, they win this football game, and it might be a big win. I think it's going to be super close. I'm going to be freaking nervous. Like it kind of follows up on the conversation we just had, but the national media optics like around this game are massive. Like if Seattle wins this game, everybody's kind of, I feel like, keeping them on the down low right now and not seriously hyping them up nationally because of their schedule over the past 3 weeks. But if they go into Detroit on Monday night, beat them with those fresh jerseys that they're rocking, like Seattle hits the front page of the newspaper, ESPN, the next morning, like first, all that sort of stuff. Like it would be optically a massive win for Mike Macdonald.
So what's the score?
I'm going to go 30 to 23 Seattle.
Talking about
Nathan?
Being all over ESPN, Seattle's ranked 4th in ESPN's power rankings, right? Is that right?
They like vaulted this week. I'm like, what the hell happened? That's like,
would they be the number 1 team in Seattle in ESPN's power? I mean, it's like a total BS. It's Madden ratings, but it's neat. Like, would they be number 1?
No, the Bills would still be number 1.
Who did the Bills play this week?
I don't know, but like if the Bills lost, then sure. But the Bills,
they play the Ravens.
Yeah. Ooh.
They could lose that game at Baltimore.
It could happen. They're actually the Bills are actually underdogs in that game, which is wild to me.
I mean, Ravens back against the wall type thing.
Yeah. Nathan, what's the score of this game?
I talked myself out of a blowout last week, and that was a bad call. 34-23 Seahawks.
I like that
game. I think they're ranked number 1 in ESPN's power rankings the next morning, for whatever that means. And I'm probably going to be buying tickets to that stupid Niners game too, which breaks my heart. So that'll be great.
If they do that, man,
it's going to get fun. I mean, it's already fun, but we get a lot of fun. I'm glad you brought up the jerseys.
Yeah.
I think that those Lions jerseys look phenomenal.
They're so good.
They're so good. And then the Seahawks going all white. is good. I mean, that game is going to be as aesthetically amazing as NFL football should be. Like, it's gonna look amazing. There's gonna be some great photos, and I could just imagine the Reek, Trey Brown, Spoon posing in the end zone after a pick six or turnover. Because guess what? One thing this defense has not done the last 2 weeks is take the ball away, and I think that they've got a chance to do that in this game. If you saw Jared Goff's got 4 interceptions on the season already, and the one he threw to Arizona, Dennis Gardeck, it was his own blitz. Like, it was, if you think that's confusing for Jared Goff, like, good luck. I mean, they scored 6 points last year against Mike Macdonald's defense, and Jared Goff had a 14.8 QBR. So Jared Goff has not exactly proven he has the mental capacity to outthink Mike Macdonald. I think he's figured out where the sun rises and sets, but I don't know if he knows where the pass rushers are coming from. So look, I wish I could say I feel like the blowout's there. I think that's not where my gut is. I think these are 2 really good teams, and this is going to be a really hard fought game. I think they're going to put points on the board. I think the Seahawks defense for the first time is going to get rocked back on its heels a little bit and have to steady. I think it's going to come down to making a big stand, and it's going to come down to, maybe a Jason Myers field goal. And I've got the Seahawks winning this one 27-24. But I feel pretty good about their chances in this one.
If they can't pressure Geno, though, like if they can't take advantage of that interior offensive line, I don't think it's, I mean, and this is kind of what we've seen, like at least last year, right? Is like even Hutchinson against like third string tackles couldn't take advantage of it. And that is going to be absolutely deadly. Like this offense, there are big plays out there. Every game, there are big plays out there. They hit one last week to DK, but like that stuff is out there every week. And if you're going to give them time, it could get very exciting.
Yeah. I mean, my biggest thing there is I think this is one of the least talented secondaries the Seahawks have faced so far this year.
Okay, explain this to me. I was looking at the betting odds. DK Metcalf, anytime TD score, plus 160.
Right. That means that he's likely going to have one.
So if
minus.
No, it's
plus 160. Right. You'd get
260 if you bet 160 if you bet 100.
Yeah. I mean, scoring touchdowns is especially for receivers is not ever a given, even if you've got a good matchup.
But that Lions secondary isn't very. I mean, they have that rookie corner. I forget his name.
Terrian Arnold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's playing really well.
He is playing well in some ways. He's got 5 penalties already. Like he's getting the rookie treatment from the officials, and so I'm just like, put Tyler Lockett on that guy, get him like 3 more penalties in this game, and send him on his way. But I think there's so much fun about this game. Honestly, I don't know about you guys. I really feel like this Seahawks team is eager to play on the national stage, and I think that they've got the type of game to show out in that situation. And that's the part I think I'm most looking forward to. Is I feel like these guys are going to play their best football in this situation.
How do you think Mike feels about his first head coaching Monday Night Football game? Does he care at all? There's got to be something in him that nothing.
No.
Just those dead black eyes.
He looks at people like they have 7 years when they ask those kinds of questions. He's like, we're just watching the film, and we've got the matchups, and we'll go through, and we got to pay attention to the details. Like, and it's not disingenuous, dude.
After his opener, the opening game, and he had like asking about like Marshawn, like he did seem to acknowledge that like he had a moment. Maybe not. Maybe he won't have it going into it, but I mean, maybe
during. Sure, I think for sure. But like right now, that dude is locked. He's like our Adderall head coach, dude. He is like completely. I'm not saying he's taking it, but I'm just saying like. He's the guy that is completely myopic and you can't take him off of it, like that's who he is during the week. And I think that's part of the challenge for him as a head coach. There's a lot of distractions, and he just wants to focus on friggin' game planning. But I don't know, man. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really, really looking forward to it. So I will wrap there. Thank you to Evan Hill at Evan Hill HB. Thank you to Nathan Ernst at Nathan E11. And thanks to everybody for tuning in tonight for another episode of Real Hawk Talk. I am Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at HawkBlogger. I will see you all tomorrow morning. Until then, take care.